Alright everyone, this is Zero Budget Geek, and welcome to the first official ABXY Tournament Finals. Alright, so we have the players are at the top of the elimination bracket. We have Heather on the left and Roger on the right. They are in the middle of drafting their teams. We missed a little bit of it, but they're finishing up now. Heather looks like she has Bosco, Liberius, Mira, and Whisper, and Roger has drafted his team, and she's taken Nixian as her last character. She did not pick Jessica, which is interesting because Jessica is usually a high pick. So now the players are deciding which of their team members is going to be their starter. So it looks like Roger has Citadel, Hex, and Grubble. I didn't see the rest. Looks like he's picking Grumble as being his starter. Now usually you want to do this secretly so that your opponent doesn't know and have an advantage, but he really didn't do it very secretly there. So if Heather is paying attention, she could have a little bit of an advantage, but we are starting now. We just did a little bit of a jump there, and so Heather has decided to start with Bosco, which is not really a good idea. Grumble is a real good starter because he is very defensive, so he can hold off the opponent's team. But Bosco is not really a good starter because his X ability, which is normally his switch, is his heal ally. And so right now he has no allies that he can heal. They're all at full health. And because his X is his heal and not his switch, he can't switch out. So that's probably a mistake on Heather's part. Now they've played their buttons. So there's a fight and a defend. So Grumble counterattacks on Bosco, hits him. Bosco tries to heal, and then Grumble does a fight move. So they are, it looks like they are playing it wrong there. So yeah, she's trying to do a switch because Bosco's lighter, but that should have been just a heal and not do anything. So that one got past the judges there. And now Roger is familiarizing himself with Nixian. That's who she brought in. And Nixian is magical, so Nixian has to be defeated by damage. Defeat effects do not work on her. And then her A button is a immolate, which lets her damage foe or defeat water, ice, or plant foes. So we have a fight versus defend. So Nixian counterattacks Grumble and damages him, and then Grumble defends and counterattacks against Nixian. Fight there, and Nixian is damaged. So now they are both damaged. We are starting a new round, and there he goes. He fixes his character there, and they are deciding what they're gonna do here. So Heather picks her first action, second action, and Roger ready. So Nixian is trying to switch. Grumble is trying to defend. So Nixian switches out, and let's see who she brings in. She brings in Mira. Now Mira's nice. They both attack each other. Mira's lighter, so she will hit Grumble first and kill him before he gets his attack off. Now Mira's a good counter to Grumble because Grumble has 2 cards that he can use as a defense, and Mira has 2 cards that she can use as an attack. So her Y button isn't a taunt, it is a damage foe ability called Bite. Now Roger does bring in Citadel here, who is an interesting character. So another character that's good as a starter. His A ability lets him attack the characters on the sidelines, but Citadel has a hard time fighting the character that he's actually facing off against. So Mira, if she plays it right, she could just kill Citadel right here, but at least one of those cards is probably going to be a defense. So both of them attack. So Mira, well, let's see, Citadel's faster, so Citadel kills somebody on the sidelines there, and then he takes damage from Mira, and then Mira attacks, and Citadel did do a defend. They are asking the judge for a ruling because they believe, they believe that the B only works against A, but the defend works against any damage effect. So in this particular case, normally a taunt is not a damage effect, but because Mira's Y ability is a bite damage foe, it does get countered by the B. So now both of the characters are damaged. They take back their buttons, and they're gonna go into a new round. So Mira definitely wants to try to take out Citadel here because Citadel can sneak in another hit and take out Nixian on the sidelines there. Nixian is damaged. and I would imagine Roger would want to try to take a cheap shot on that, and he's probably willing to sacrifice Citadel just to get that hit in there. So I'm sure Heather knows this, so she's really thinking about what is going to be her play here. Probably an attack and defend, but the order will matter. So let's see. So they make their decision, and she fights versus Citadel's defense. So he blocks her attack and counter damage. They're killing Mira, and now this is probably going to be an A button. She brings in Whisper. She taunts, and then he switches with Citadel, which is interesting. Which means because he taunted Whisper, Heather gets to choose which character Citadel or Roger will switch into. Right, it does not. Yeah, so they thought that it negated. Heather thought it negated the switch. It doesn't negate it, but it just lets her choose who she's gonna bring in. Now she probably doesn't want to bring in Kremlin because Kremlin will deal a damage when he switches in. So she probably wants to pick something else. And she's thinking about her decision here. So these are the kinds of decisions in this game that are very interesting, especially in a tournament level. You gotta pay attention to all of their abilities. So she decides to bring in Hex, and there's no particular advantage or disadvantage here. She definitely did not want Kremlin, so I imagine that she just picked one of the others. Okay, so Heather has her action set. Let's see what Roger's going to do. Now, Roger, you notice he's looking at his watch. He sometimes bases some of his decisions randomly. He uses as a watch and uses the numbers on the watch to decide what he's doing. So Whisper does a disperse, defend, and Hex switched out to Kremlin. Kremlin deals a damage when she comes in. So they're wondering if the defense works against the pounce, and it should not. Right. All right. So Whisper's B is a defense and switches. So Whisper switched out, but Prowl's ability to damage an opponent when she comes in should still work. So that would hit Liberius. Yeah, they're figuring out the order that it happened here. So Whisper negated damage. There was no damage being done, so she switches. Now the switch with Hex actually happens. Kremlin comes in, deals the damage to the existing character, which is Liberius, and then Liberius attacks, but actually that is incorrect. They played it as a defend, but Kremlin's B action only negates A, so that should not have been a counterattack. That should have just been a actually it does not negate, it locks out A. So the players of this are new to the game, so there is a learning curve. So one of the biggest issues newer players have is remembering that the button on the character card replaces the action on the card that you're playing. So that was a little bit of a mistake there, but balances out for the mistake that Heather did at the beginning with Bosco being able to switch. So here Kremlin tried to attack but was counterattacked by Whisper, and then Kremlin is now trying to switch. Meanwhile, Whisper is doing a fight action, so Whisper is lighter, so she will hit Kremlin before she gets to switch. So Kremlin has been defeated. Roger now has to bring in a new character. And he's taking a look at Whisper's abilities, making sure he knows what she can and can't do. Now, Whisper has a Fury ability, which means that it says that if Whisper gets defeated on the same turn that she damaged the opponent, she will also kill her opponent. So you got to be careful of that. So Roger has decided to bring in Dallas. And Dallas is unique in that he's a fire ant. And basically, when he gets damaged, he turns into a water ant. As a fire ant, he's immune to fire. As a water ant, he's immune to water foes. So Whisper taunts, Dallas defends, which means Dallas's B button gets locked out because of the taunt, and then both of them attack each other. The order here shouldn't matter because they're both at full health, so they'll just both simply get damaged. And now Alaska is a water type, so he is immune to water foes, but there's no water foes right now, so that does not matter. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Nixian actually can defeat water foes with her A ability, but it would be the same thing as a damage, and you only need one more damage to kill Alaska. So she probably doesn't need to switch. So let's see what they do here. They're really thinking really hard about what they want to do. The ant there does still have his B locked out, so Roger's options are limited. He's deciding what he wants to do here. And Heather looks like she's kind of waiting for Roger to make his choice before she makes her decision. So Roger makes his choices, puts it down. He does need to be careful that he's not that Heather's not able to see his cards, but I don't think she's looking at it. Okay, so Heather is making her choices and she attacks, and Alaska plays his X button, which all it does is it counters X. So he expected her to switch. She did not. So he gets punished for it, and then he brings in Hex, and Hex counter attack. Or actually, no, Whisper counter attacks Hex. So now they're both damaged. And we're down to 2 characters each, and all 4 characters are in damaged state. Okay, since he played B with Whisper, she switches out. Or actually, so then that should not have been a counter attack. So Hex actually should not be damaged here, and they're missing that. So Whisper's B should have just negated the damage and then caused her to switch, rather than dealing it damage in return. So that is also an error. Right now the judging is light, so the players are supposed to be policing themselves. We'll probably send in a judge to watch it more closely. So Nixian defends while Hex fights, and then Nixian counterattacks and hits. And Heather believes she's won because she doesn't notice that Citadel's over there to the sideline. So they're going to continue here. They brought in Citadel, and they played out the next button, which was an A versus a B. So Citadel counterattacked and killed the last character that she had there. So now it is now Whisper versus Citadel. Now Citadel is in trouble here because Citadel's A button, which is normally his attack, only hits the sideline, which there are no sideline characters. So Roger's only hope is to hope that he can play his B at the same time that Whisper plays an A and counter attack and kill her that way. Otherwise, he will probably die here because I'm pretty sure Heather's going to play an A and a B, but the order is what's going to matter here. Roger should probably, he should definitely play a B and probably a Y, because his A is not going to help him and his X is not going to help him. So he plays A and Y, and he chose right. The B defends against the A and kills Whisper. So Roger has won the match, and he's going to go to the grand final versus Nicole. And here we go. They are selecting their characters. They're drafting their teams. So we missed it before, and we'll take a look at it here. So what the players do is one player will deal out 11 characters on the table, and then the other player will have first choice, will pick a character, and then they alternate drafting characters for their teams. They're going to draft 5 characters, and then the 11th one is not going to be chosen. Now the reason we do 11 is because that leaves, so the player with the last choice still has a choice between 2 characters. So here the players are carefully looking at the different characters to see which one they're going to choose. The players are a little still unfamiliar with the characters. They are familiar with them, but they don't know all the specific abilities. Well, I can't speak here because this is a new game and it is the first ever tournament. It's been called the introductory tournament. So the idea of it was the players can learn the game in a competitive format that is still, friendly and welcoming of new players. Now the players, when they are facing against each other, they are allowed one person to be sort of their coach. So Nicole just got a little bit of piece of advice there. Now we see that there's Bosco in the lineup there, which I would pick. He's one of the only healers in the game, so he should be a high pick. But instead, Nicole goes with Sweep, and Roger quickly goes for Kremlin, who is one of his favorites. He likes the fact that Kremlin deals the damage when he switches in. So now Nicole needs to pick her second. She will go with Whisper. And Roger quickly picks Brutus, which is nice. Brutus can lock his opponents in place and prevent them from switching. Now Nicole has yet to lose a game, so she's on the winner's bracket. She will pick this, and Roger quickly picks Fade. This is good at switching in and out and punishing opponents for it. Fade is good at preventing himself from being locked out. Nicole will take Zlalka, which is an oddball character. Roger again goes for Dallas, and Nicole picked her last character. I did not notice who it was. I think it was it Nixian? And Roger goes for Jessica, which is an interesting character. He did not pick Bosco, which is very interesting. Bosco is usually a very high pick and was not chosen this time. Having a healer on there are very few healing effects, so healing and death is usually permanent in this game. But if you can heal a character, that it's almost negating one of your opponent's attacks. So again, Roger picks his first character without really being too secretive about it. As we can see, if you can peek, it's Jessica, who's not terrible as a starter. Nicole is really considering options there, who she's going to pick as a starter. I didn't notice anybody that would be a clear starter. She picks Whisper. Actually, that is an interesting starter because Whisper's B button lets her switch as well as her X. So she may want to play a B here just to see what the opponent's going to do and then switch out to another more appropriate character. So here we go. We're starting the match. Cameraman's trying to get in position. Roger quickly picks his moves. He knows exactly what he's doing. And he's setting up his team, though he needs to fix his guys there on the side there in damage. Yeah, it's being pointed out that his characters are in damage position, so he needs to fix them. They do start on the healthy side. Okay, so Nicole still needs to pick her character. She's got her character. She needs to pick her actions. Okay, she's made a choice, and here we go. So Jessica fights, Whisper defends, and that is not a counterattack, so she basically will negate the damage, and then she will switch out.
But I don't actually do that, right? I negate.
Right, Roger thought it was a counterattack, but it is not. It is simply blocking the damage and then switching out. Now, Jessica has a very powerful ability. Her A ability lets her deal damage and then heal herself. But then the drawback is that she is erratic, so her second button is always chosen randomly. So Sweep comes in and does a fight move, but Jessica did defend against it, so it will negate it and counterattack. Now there's a question here because Sweep's card does say she can't be negated, but that is referring to button cards. Yeah, so they're going to call over the judge, which is the actual designer of the game, Jack Rosetree, and he's going to come in and do a ruling. So the question here is, here, we'll try to listen here.
Then I'll have to specify a little better, but it does, B negates damage, it doesn't negate the action. So you're,
So I'm still damaged, but he's not?
right.
Okay.
So he gets the counter still.
Yes.
Okay, so that was a counterattack. So
You don't get hit.
right, so Sweep's buttons cannot be negated. So if something says negate a button, like negate Y or negate A, that doesn't work against Sweep, but Sweep's actions can still be negated. So the effects of her buttons can still be negated. So in that case, she attacked, and the B button does defend, negate damage and then counterattack. So Jessica was able to get a counter hit in there. Okay, Nicole picks her buttons there, and now he has to pick his second button randomly. So there he goes, and Sweep will do a Y, which is challenge, which locks out X or Y, but he gets hit by Jessica's fight ability. And now Nicole has to bring in a new character. So who will she bring in? She brings in Zlaka, which is a little bit of a weird character. So he flipped his character rather than his card. So, oh, this is, wow. So Zlaka's A ability is not a fight ability. It targets Y. So if your opponent plays Y, it negates the Y and then immediately defeats the foe. So really good move there. Wow, so that was very big move on Nicole's part. She was able to negate that Y and then completely defeat him. So Zalka is kind of a backwards character. Zalka's A ability doesn't normally do damage, and then her passive ability is feint. If she succeeds with a taunt, then that's how she deals damage. So when you're playing with Zalka, you kind of have to play sort of backwards. You know, your attack button isn't really your attack, and your non-attack button is more your attacking button, so it's a little bit different. So here Roger brings in Brutus, which is pretty interesting because Brutus will prevent Zalka from switching out unless she takes damage. So let's see how Nicole responds here. So they both fight each other. I actually know Brutus is fighting, and Zalka's A only works against the opposing B. So Zalka doesn't do anything and will just take damage from Brutus's A attack. And then so Zalka taunts versus Brutus's B, but Brutus's B lets him negate damage or negate and lock out Y. So he locks out Zalka's Y ability, which is huge because that's pretty much the only way for Zalka to damage Brutus. So Zalka's in a bad situation here because it doesn't look like she's going to be able to damage Brutus, and she can't switch out unless she takes damage, but the next damage she takes will kill her. So Brutus has an advantage here, and it's just up to Roger to take advantage of that. So Zalka plays A, which is trying to target his Y, but right. So the A, Zalka's A didn't do anything, and Brutus' A just kills Zalka. So now she has to pick a new character to come in, but the new character will resolve the second button. And she's just asking a question as to when her taunt card comes back to her hand. It pretty much comes back to her hand immediately, but it doesn't matter because you're not going to be able to use it until the next round. So here she needs to decide which character she's going to bring in. She's got Whisper, Thys, and Liberius to choose from. Roger is waiting patiently. Now the players do have 20 minutes to complete their match. Most games take about 15 minutes or so. So she decides to bring in Thys, and Thys tries to switch and Brutus tries to negate damage or lock out Y. But Thys cannot switch out because she can only switch out versus Brutus if she's taking damage. So the X will not happen. And then there's a little bit confusion of the Y. No, the Y was locked out on the previous character, so she gets her Y button back. Okay, so Roger is considering trying to bring in Thys to deal damage. But he's kind of in a good position here because Thys likes to switch in out. So Thys' passive ability is anytime Thys switches in, she will be immune to damage, and then her Y ability punishes the opponent for switching in. So if you play Y at the same time your opponent switches, you will kill the new character that comes in. So let's see what Roger will do here. If he should keep in Brutus. That should be the thing, because then that'll prevent Thys from switching out and doing her switching shenanigans. Nicole probably knows this, so let's see if she plays accordingly. So she's going to defend, and Brutus also defends, so nothing happens. And then Thys plays Y, thinking that Brutus was going to switch, but Brutus does not switch. Instead, Brutus attacks and damages Thys.
It was a good try, though.
I was trying. I thought he was going to switch somebody out.
So they start a new round here, and
On the side,
let's see. Roger quickly picks his actions there. Nicole is still thinking. They are discussing the situation there a little bit.
And you can't really get better of me if I just do A's and B's. There's some characters which can do things against A's and B's, but this one has no special powers against just random alternation of A and B. He's going to.
So he's talking about his thought process that in this particular situation he's pretty much doing A and B in different combinations. So Thys will attack, but Brutus's B negates that, but it does not counter. It only negates it. So Thys is still alive, and then they're gonna resolve her second buttons, and there is a counter attack from Thys onto Brutus, so that will damage Brutus.
And then, okay.
Nope.
you don't take damage.
Right.
No, yeah, you're blocking it and then doing damage to Brutus. So Brutus is the one damaged, and he put his character upside down. There we go. They fixed it. So that was a good counterattack from Thys. So we'll start a new round. Let's see what they will do. So Roger again, and like he said, he's pretty much in this situation. He doesn't want to switch out Brutus. Oh, he does. There he goes. He put down a switch there. Now he was just saying that he was just using combinations, but I don't agree with that. I think you should keep Brutus in there, not switch. So Thys was, well, oh, okay. Brutus's B locked out the Y, and then Thys is trying to attack while Brutus is trying to switch. Thys is lighter, so she will hit first and kill Brutus before he switches out. And then Dallas switches in, but this is after. Nope. This is so because Brutus died while he was trying to switch.
Your switch fizzles because
Yeah, because Brutus died while he was trying to switch. The switch fizzles and actually does not happen.
Only A and B would work.
So Roger was trying to do a double switch here, but he's not going to be able to do that.
the order of actions matters and your character gets defeated, then the action that would have happened.
So Jack the designer is explaining that to him that because Brutus died while trying to perform his second action, the second action will fizzle out and not happen. But a new character still will come in, because when a character gets defeated, you have to replace him with a new character. And the new character being replaced or coming in is not considered to switching in, so switch effects won't work. So he probably doesn't want to bring in Kremlin, because then the pounce won't work. So I guess he's decided that Fade will be the character that's going to come in to replace Brutus. And they are starting a new round, selecting new buttons. Any locked out buttons have come back. And Nicole has chosen her moves. Let's see. Roger. All right. So Thys defends, and so does Fade. Well, Fade locks out A with his B. And then Thys tries to switch, and Fade is trying to hit.
Weighs less, which means this is getting
Fade is lighter, so he damages Thys before she switches and kills her. And so now Nicole needs to bring in a new character, and then they're going to start a new round.
Oh, but I get this back.
The locked out Y will come back to Nicole's hand, so she'll have that available. So she might be considering Liberius. Nope, she goes with Whisper. And Whisper's pretty nice, because Whisper can defend and switch out with one button. So Whisper's pretty good at adapting to whatever the given situation is. And Whisper's Fury ability is really nice. If she dies at the same round that she killed her opponent, she damaged her opponent, she will kill her opponent. All right, they pick their moves. Let's see what they will do. Nope, Nicole had a change of heart. She's your moves aren't locked in until you both reveal them. So there is some nervousness here. Okay, so Whisper taunts, but Fade decides to go for a fight. So the taunt will not do anything, and Fade just hits Whisper and damages him. And then Whisper defends.
Well, actually, hold on. Back up. Because Whisper weighs less, and Whisper's B action is actually a switch. So she'll switch
Okay, so since Whisper's lighter, her B causes her to switch out, and then Roger switches in with Kremlin and damages Liberius.
Man, I'm getting trounced.
So Roger is in the lead right now by 1 character. Actually, by a bit more than that, because both of Nicole's characters are damaged, and Roger has 3 characters and none of them are damaged. So he's very much, I wouldn't say in control of the match, but he definitely has a significant advantage. Now, Kremlin has a weakness in that Kremlin cannot defend herself. So they both fight each other. That is the right. Okay, so Liberius is lighter, so he hits Kremlin first, but then gets killed right after. And then Whisper does a taunt.
So you actually get to choose who he brings.
Okay, so the taunt will override Roger's switch. So Nicole can choose who comes in. She chooses Dallas. I don't think for any particular reason that other than that, she doesn't want to deal with Fade. Okay, so Roger picks his buttons there, and Nicole is thinking what she wants to do. She is really in a bind here, not looking good. And she attacks right into his counterattack. So Dallas defeats Whisper, and Roger has defeated Nicole, and that is the match. But because Nicole was in the winner's bracket and Roger was playing out of the elimination bracket, the bracket's reset. So now Roger has to defeat Nicole again in order to be the champion, and Nicole still only needs to beat Roger once in order to be the champion of the tournament. So they are taking the characters. There's 20 different characters in the game. So she's grabbing all the characters and she's just counting them right now, making sure that all 20 are there. And then she's going to go ahead and shuffle, and then Roger will end up having the first pick.
In Michael Finals, I'm still in.
You just beat me.
But now, because I lost one before,
So this is the final match. That's what they're discussing right now. The winner of this takes it all, and it's a small prize. The winner will get a treasure chest of another game by Broken Games called Questboard, which is actually available as a print-on-demand game on the Game Crafter. So that's Questboard. You can check it out if you wish. And Nicole is going ahead and dealing out 11 characters. Now this is interesting because we have Ryle and Bosco both in the mix there, and both of those are really good characters, very high picks. Both of them, well, Ryle can heal himself and bring back dead characters, so he's a very useful character, and Bosco can heal. So I imagine both of those will probably be, but actually Roger goes for Jessica as his first pick, which is interesting. Now Jessica's a pretty popular first pick, not first pick character, but usually a very high pick. If I was Nicole, I would definitely go for Ryle. I mean, even if you get to use ability only once, that it's essentially giving you an extra character to play with. So Ryle's X ability is Fairy. It lets him bring back a defeated character back into play in damage condition. So they're weakened, but you still get an extra character. The weakness of Ryle is that Ryle, his Fairy action uses his X, so he can't switch out. I didn't see who she took there, so Roger quickly goes for Bosco, and Nicole has to think about what she wants, and she really should grab Ryle here, because if Roger gets both Bosco and Ryle, he will be in trouble. She goes for Rock Bell, which is not a bad character, and Roger goes for Ebb. They are not paying attention to Ryle there. I think that is a misstep. That Ryle is a very important character. I mean, they are picking good characters because Ebb is potentially very powerful. Grumble's another really good character I see in the mix there.
Yeah, he doesn't have much. He doesn't have like any defense, but if he
Yeah, so they're discussing that Ebb doesn't have a lot of defense, but he has ways to outright kill opponent. If he plays his B when you play your B, he will kill you. So in the tournament in earlier matches, that happened a few times. So Nicole does go for Ryle. That I agree with that, and Roger goes for Thys, another really good character, but Thys does take a lot of planning ahead. Nicole picks next, and Roger goes with Liberius, and then Nicole has the last pick. She needs to pick between Whisper and Nixian, and she decides to go for Whisper, so Nixian will not be used in this match. Now, sorry, I did miss which some of the picks that Nicole did. Okay, so did she get Grumble? She got Grumble there, and Hex, I think, was the other character she grabbed. Okay, so Nicole chooses Grumble as her starter, and Roger picks Ebb as his starter, which is very interesting. I'm not sure I would pick that as my starter, but it's not terrible. It's not terrible. Ebb is really pretty much a offense-oriented character, and Grumble is a defense-oriented character. Actually, you know what? Ebb is a pretty good counter to Grumble, because if Ebb Grumble players usually will play X and B almost exclusively. So if Ebb can play his B when Grumble plays B, he will automatically defeat him. So let's see. So Grumble attacks, and Ebb tries to devour. The Ebb's devour, which is his B button, only works against the opposing B. Right, so Grumble sneaks in a hit and punches Ebb in the face, and then Ebb attacks, and then Grumble counterattacks and kills Ebb. So that was a really good start for Nicole, because Ebb is dangerous versus Grumble. So she took out a major counter there. So now Nicole's in a good position, because Grumble can kind of sit there and defend, especially against Jessica, because Jessica's second button is always going to be random. So there we go. Nicole asked that he's supposed to be doing the second button random, and Roger's explaining that he's using numbers on his on his watch. So he looks at his watch, and depending on the number is gonna be the card that he plays for the second button. All right. So Grumble attacks with his first button, and Jessica blocks. So Grumble's special ability, or his passive, is that he cannot be countered. So it does block the damage, but he doesn't get counter damage. Grumble defends with his X, which blocks Jessica's A attack. Jessica's A button is a damage foe and then heal. When a card says and then, so like in Jessica says damage and then heal, so you have to do one in order to get the other one. So Jessica cannot heal unless she deals damage, and that ability is called Bloodsuck. So Roger's taking a look at Grumble and just trying to figure out what he can do here, because Grumble is very, very defensive. Pretty much against Grumble, you either need something that outright kills him or sneak in an A damage somehow, but that's difficult. Grumble has defenses. So let's see what Roger can pull out here. Now, one thing that you can do against Grumble, if you can use your Y card to lock out Grumble's B, which is one of his defense cards, that will greatly swing things in your favor. A lot of newer players have trouble with Grumble just because he's super defensive, but you know, if you can lock out one of his defense cards, you go a long way to trying to defeat him. So Grumble tries to attack, but Jessica blocks and counterattacks, but Grumble doesn't take damage from counters, and then they both taunt each other, which does nothing. Okay, so they take back their buttons. I think Nicole was hoping to try to grab, lock out one of Jessica's B buttons, or Jessica's B button with her taunt, but it didn't work. So Roger has quickly chosen his moves. Often players of Jessica will choose A as their first move and then let the other one be whatever random, because her A ability is just so good. So Nicole picks her first and second action. So a taunt versus a defend. That's what she wanted. She locks out his defense. So now Grumble is in a really good position here. So now Grumble will fight, and Jessica is trying to switch. Jessica is faster. Yeah, so yeah, she's asking about that. So Jessica will go first, switch out, and then whoever comes in will take damage from Grumble's attack. Roger picks This to be the one coming in, and This has a passive that says that on a round that she switches in, she cannot be damaged. So good move right there. But Roger's having a tough time with Grumble. Grumble has been giving him fits. Yeah, Roger just said Grumble's hard to defeat, and he can be. He can be, but he is not insurmountable. There are definitely ways to deal with him. And unfortunately, I don't think this is really in a good position for that, because you need a good taunt versus Grumble, and this does not have a taunt. So Grumble defends, and so does this. And then Grumble attacks, and so does this. So they both take damage here. The order doesn't matter there. So finally, Roger has gotten a hit on Grumble.
Our game also, so our game resistor. Oh no, it's the other way. That's how I did.
Yeah. Well, because ours are landscape, I decided it's just easier to.
So they're getting ready to, yeah, they're talking about, whether they feel like Grumble's overpowered or not, and Jack is explaining to them he's not. There are ways around him. It can seem like he's hard to defeat, but it really isn't. Okay, so Grumble defends and he blocks. This is fight, and then second button, Grumble attacks, but he runs into This's block. But Grumble is immune to counterattack, so he doesn't get hit there. So Grumble is super defensive, but he's not that great at attacking. So let's see what Nicole is able to pull out here. Nicole really wants to try to take out one more character with Grumble. That would put her in a really strong position. Roger is asking a rules question of Jack.
So this and Liberius both are not very good against people with alternate.
Right, so he's mentioning that this and Liberius probably are not good against Grumble, because their Y abilities are not going to be that useful against him. All right, they both attack each other. This is lighter, so she will hit Grumble and kill him. And then Nicole brings in Rockbell, who will play her Dream ability, which locks out an opponent's button, which is his defense button. So Rockbell's Y, that's called Dream, and it locks out whatever button is played by the opponent. And also, Rockbell has the Omen ability, which lets her control who anytime the opponent switches, Rockbell will get to choose what the opponent switches into. So Roger has picked his two abilities, and let's see what it is. Rockbell taunts again, which locks out.
Alright, so you get hit.
It's gonna lock out the A, but Rockbell does get hit. And then Rockbell attacks as This is trying to switch. So this gets defeated before she switches. So now Roger has already lost 2 guys, and Nicole's only lost 1. Now because this died and someone else is coming in, that those locked out cards will come back to Roger's hand. So Roger goes back to Jessica and is hoping that Jessica can right this ship. I imagine he probably wanted to get the damage this out and then try to heal her with Bosco, but that didn't work out. So he picks Jessica's first button and he chose the second one randomly. Nicole is really thinking about what she wants to do. She wants to win this. She does not. She did suffer one loss. She does not want another. And same thing for Roger. He's only lost once in this tournament. So Rockbell goes for the Dream again. She locks out Jessica's B, which is really important. And then Jessica attacks and runs into Rockbell's defense, which counterattacks and damages Jessica. So that was a good exchange for Nicole. Nope. Roger almost grabbed that B, but he can't use it. That is locked out. So he really needs to think. His options are very limited here. And I say limited because remember his second button is going to be chosen randomly, so he's not going to know what it's going to be. Now, even though it's chosen randomly, the second button, you can look at it after it's chosen. You can look at it. You just can't change it.
I noticed he kept looking at his watch, and I was like,
I get random numbers.
Yeah.
So they're again talking about the method that he is choosing his random buttons. Nicole is forming a plan here. Okay, here we go. Nicole goes for that lockout again as Jessica tries to switch. The X gets locked out,
Well, yeah.
but the switch still happens.
Which means you get those back.
Right. When you lock out, it doesn't negate the effect. So Jessica switches out, which means that Roger will get that B and X back, and he does bring in Bosco.
Sorry. Hold on. Back up. Your omen ability means that you override.
Okay. Jack is pointing out that because of Rockbow's omen ability, Roger cannot choose who will come in. It will be Nicole who comes in. So obviously she doesn't want Bosco to come in. She will bring Liberius.
All right. So and then X would get locked out, but because of the switch.
All right, so he gets his buttons back, and then Rockbow does an attack versus Liberius' attack. I believe Liberius is lighter, so Liberius will get the hit in first and kill Rockbow. And now Nicole needs to bring in a replacement. Meanwhile, Roger is thinking about what his next play is gonna be. Well, he wants to see what Nicole brings in, obviously. So she is thinking. She wants to win this. They're both playing their hardest. They want to win. Okay, so she goes for Ryle, and she wants to see if she can bring back some of those defeated characters. Bringing back Grumble could be very useful. And again, like I mentioned before, even if Ryle only gets to resurrect one character, that's still a significant advantage. So Nicole plays her card. Let's see what it is. She goes for a fight, and she runs into a counter attack. So Ryle takes damage, and then she tries to do her fairy, but Liberius is faster, so Liberius kills Ryle before he's able to resurrect someone. So that was really big for Roger. Big move right there, taking out Ryle just like that. Okay, so she brings in Whisper as her replacement. Roger is familiarizing himself once again with that character. Okay, he's satisfied with what he sees. He's made his decision very quickly. And let's see what Nicole will do. So Liberius is immune to lockouts and I believe counters, and then his Y ability lets him mess around with the opponent's switches. He can actually force the opponent to switch out with his Y ability. So Nicole probably doesn't really want to do a switch. I'm pretty sure she wants to. Well, I think she just wants to kill or hurt or damage anybody she can. But now Nicole's in a bad spot here because now she's down to just 2 characters. Meanwhile, Roger does have 3, so he's in a little bit of a strong position. Whisper, they both attack each other. The order doesn't matter, so they will just hit each other, and then they both defend. But Whisper's defense allows her to switch, so she'll switch into Hex. Now Hex is unquenchable. Hex cannot be defeated by water and arcane foes. And then his X ability lets him switch or regain his locked out buttons. So Roger is trying to decide what he's doing here. It looks like he played an A and a B. And again, he needs to be careful with the way he's placing his cards down. They look like they were probably visible to the opponent. Okay, Hex blocks and Liberius attacks. And so Hex took damage. Oh, okay. Liberius does not take damage from counters, so. Okay, so Nicole is in a bad spot. Both her characters are damaged. And Roger is sitting strong with 2 damaged characters, but 1 healthy one. And that healthy one is Bosco, who can heal characters. So might be a good time for Roger to switch Bosco in and try to do some healing. Nicole is probably expecting that, so she's probably going to play accordingly. Let's see what she pulls out. She decides to go for a switch as Liberius defends. So she switches to Whisper, and then she attacks. They both attack, but Whisper.
So does his attack go off?
Wait, which is lighter? Whisper is lighter, so she will kill Liberius before his attack goes off. Alright, and now Roger brings in Bosco. He should have done a switch before that. I think he really should have switched and then tried to heal his two other characters. So I expect to see one of these cards to be a heal. Even though Jessica has ways to self-heal, but Nicole has turned this around. Now, we are seeing something here. If Nicole can defeat Bosco, she should win the game. And we're going to explain why in a second. So Bosco attacks and gets blocked by Whisper. Whisper's B blocks the damage. It blocks the damage and allows Whisper to switch. Oh, no. No. What are they doing? There should not be a damage.
So what happens first?
So you actually hit first because you're lower, and that takes them out.
Yeah, that B should not have been a counterattack, so that was a misplay there, and then they used the A to take out Bosco. Am I seeing that right? I think that was incorrect because the B should only negate damage and then switch. But right now, even if Whisper is taken out, Hex will come in, and Hex cannot be defeated by Arcane and Fire foes, and Jessica is an Arcane insect. So Jessica cannot defeat Hex no matter what. And I don't know if they've realized this. So Whisper goes for attack, and Jessica counters that, which will kill Whisper.
I hit first, but I die.
Yep, kills Whisper, and then Hex comes in.
I have no idea. I do not know what this
And Hex blocks, and Jessica tried to switch.
thing for me to be
So
doing.
what happens here? Nothing?
Nothing.
But it has not dawned on them that Jessica cannot defeat Hex.
I see it. Okay. I see it.
So they're thinking about their moves, but it is not really going to matter at this point. Nicole has won this. They both decide to attack each other. And yep,
Also, you couldn't kill me.
there it is. She's pointing out to him that Jessica could not have won because it's Arcane, and Nicole has won the tournament. She gets the little treasure chest that has a game, and she is very, very happy with her prize. And congratulations to our top 3 tournament finalists.